Give everybody a minute to load in. I guess it isn't obvious. Today we're told description of the video for the live characters, or drastically shorten the title to and ordering a murder that their name is Charlie Kirk. And attempts to, if the barista doesn't put down the name Charlie Kirk, or doesn't shout out the name Charlie Kirk whenever their order is done and whatnot, then employee, and trying to get them in trouble and fired and all that fun shit. Apparently, she was appalled to find up here for everybody on the widescreen. If you're watching me on landscape and watching me vertically, it's over here. The name of that is Karina, not Charlie. Karina, and one of them just and then blame the barista, mock. Um, so that makes with the manager until they went back. That's particular Starbucks. None of the employees wrote loser on the cup. They didn't write anything. And then watched as Karina took a marker out of her bag and wrote loser with a smiley face, the confrontation that she instigated. So that's fun. That was cool. That's a master class in. All right. I'm in multi comments will take a minute to filter in. Portrait viewers, you're gonna get the TikTok and YouTube and watching me and squeeze it down. We'll get it down just a little bit. That's owned. People are not fucking to the very end. We wanted to talk apparently YouTube videos and whatnot. I don't know this person's environment after Charlie Kirk's death. My wife is gagging, in case you can't hear it, and I'm sorry for burping in your ear. So let's go over it. Milo Yiannopoulos, Haran, born 18 October of 1984. It's a British far-right political commentator. Speeches and writings criticize Islam, feminism, and social justice. Yiannopoulos is a former editor of Breitbart News, an American far-right news and opinion website. He doesn't even go here. He doesn't even go here. You're not in the right school, buddy. Yiannopoulos worked for Breitbart from 14 to 17, the years 2014 2017. During this time, he rose to prominence as a significant voice in the Gamergate controversy of July 2016. He was banned from Twitter. Ooh, how did he get back then? For online harassment of actress Leslie Jones. He was permanently banned from Facebook in 2019, according to American Renaissance editor Devin Saucier, for story ideas and editing suggestions during his tenure at Breitbart. Yiannopoulos has been accused of advocating for pedophilia after emergence of several video clips in which he said that, disclaimer right now, they cannot, and positive experiences for such boys. Following the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, was rescinded, and a contract to publish his autobiography with Simon & Schuster was canceled, and that his statement reflected his own victimhood as an object of CSA by priests. Taylor Green, I'm sorry, I apologize to the ears, then worked with white nationalist Nick Fuentes in the 2024 presidential election campaign. In April 2024, Yiannopoulos was listed as chief of staff at Yeezy Apparel division at the company. So this is the guy who, so far, some like extreme right-wingers released the political sphere to get younger kids involved in politics again. This is the guy. And advocates that it's a positive experience for 14-year-old boys to go through. You want that guy? He's Islamophobic. He's anti-feminist. Oh, despises women apparently. He's apparently, get this, a reformed gay man who advocates for conversion torture camps. Oh, excuse me. All right. So that's who the right is advocating for coming. A pro pedophilia far right winger who was with Kanye when he put up swastika merch. By the way, mustache guy wannabe Nick Fuentes, co-conspirator. Y'all can go ahead. I'm not going to give any grace, leniency, or fuck themselves sideways with a chainsaw. Metaphorically speaking. Trump spoke at the UN.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Interesting things were said
Good to see all of you here.
within a 30-minute
I want to
period.
start with a preview of President Trump's very busy schedule for the week. Later this afternoon, the president will be making a major announcement focused on the childhood autism epidemic, alongside his top
This was
health
before
advisors
the
who are working
autism
to make
speech that
America
Trump gave.
healthy again. This will be a powerful display of how the entire embracing full transparency in government and championing gold standard science. Tonight, the president will depart to New York City ahead of the 80th session of the United Nations General, deliver a major speech touting the renewal of American strength around the world, his historic accomplishments in just 8 months, including the ending of 7 global wars and conflicts. The president will also touch upon how globalist institutions have significantly decayed the world order, and he will articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world. The president will also be hosting bilateral meetings with the UN Secretary General.
We are going to later on dissect every lie that came out of Trump's mouth from when he was at the UN.
The president will also Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, the UAE, and Jordan. After these important meetings, the White House, President Trump will welcome President Erdogan of Turkey for a bilateral meeting. And on Friday, the president will travel to Long Island for the Ryder Cup golf this year without President Trump's help. President Trump signed an executive order last week preventing a strike that would have crippled the New York City area ahead of the tournament. The best golfers in the world, Bryson DeChambeau, praised the president's critical intervention, saying, quote, "When the possibility of a strike threatened to disrupt transportation and attendance, President Trump's decisive leadership, the Ryder Cup experience, will be everything fans and the golf community deserve." Again, that's a quote from the great golfer Bryson DeChambeau. Now let's all hope the American Ryder Cup team can take home the trophy. In other news, positive economic data continues to pour in. Brand new polling shows that Americans' faith in ownership is more affordable, with mortgage rates dropping to a 3-year low. For new home buyers, this represents a $250 decline in your monthly mortgage payment, or nearly 3, just like they did in his first term. Thanks to President Trump's unleashing energy dominance, gas prices are dropping and Americans are spending.
The only reason why mortgage rates are being forced to be so low right now is because the people who watch the market price freezes on everything that they did during the Great Depression 100 years ago. The only reason why mortgages are so low is because the economy was getting bad off enough that they had to decrease mortgage rates so that people had enough money, food, gas, other necessities. That was their gauge on how the economy is going, where they forced mortgage rates to go lower. That wasn't Donald. You can blame Donald Trump that the economy's gotten so bad that they've had to drop
income on gasoline since 2005. Additionally, the annual cost to own and operate a new vehicle is down by nearly 6% over the last year. America's 6 straight months under Joe Biden, real wages have increased nearly every month since President Trump took office, with wages for blue-collar workers rising at the fastest rate.
Low-wage workers are being fired. That's why.
In fact, as part of President Trump's mission investment, nearly 9 times more than $1 billion very soon. We're already seeing the initial economic benefits of these investments, with industrial production recently rising to an all-time high. President Trump built the greatest economy in the history of the world in his first term, and we are witnessing him do it all
That's
over
not true.
again. Now, before I open it up
Counting
to
his
questions,
first 2 years, he inherited Obama's market. Because of his presidency, when things started snowballing downhill, the first 2 years of Biden's term, where things were recovering the economy from Trump's economy. So right now, we're in the uphill portion, his second term in office.
assassination of Charlie Kirk. As President Trump powerfully stated yesterday, this assassination was an attack on everything that makes the United States of America the greatest country on earth. The American people over the past 2 weeks is all of the proof that you need. The assassin who took Charlie's life can destroy flesh and blood, but he can never destroy the values. Became politically engaged for the first time and honored the legacy of Charlie and the ideals he died speaking for. The beautiful example, and Erica Kirk's mercy was one of the greatest acts of grace this world has ever seen. May God continue to watch over Erica. 8 House Democrats voted no, and 38 voted present on a resolution that simply stated, condemning in the strongest possible terms a simple gesture of human decency to denounce political violence. I wish I could say that this was only a fringe group, but 96 votes is nearly half of the entire House Democrat caucus. And they didn't just vote against this basic resolution condemning political violence. A number of those same Democrats took to the House floor to smear Charlie Kirk's name. The man wasn't even buried yet.
That is also a lie.
Democrat members of Congress were denigrating his memory on the floor of the House of Representatives. This was truly a sad moment and a clear reflection of how radical the Democrat Party has become. Many Democrats who want to dehumanize every person they disagree with. We must continue to call this wickedness out.
That's projection.
It's the only way that our nation and harm innocent Americans. There has been coordinated campaigns dating back years, spearheaded by radical.
Literally, the right is the one who. Everybody who's not for right has been saying stop the violence, stop the violence, stop the violence, stop the violence.
An attempted
right?
transgender assassin traveled to Justice Brett Kavanaugh's family home with plans to end his life. And it's trail. Another attempted assassin tried to kill the president at his golf club in Florida.
All of them are on the right.
Assassin shot United Healthcare CEO Brian doing their jobs.
Of kidnapping people.
Left-wing mobs engaged in illegal behavior, targeted Jewish Americans, and shut down America's college campuses under the previous administration. Left-wing mobs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the pro-Palestinian protests? I didn't know being pro-Palestinian was anti-Jewish. Jesus Christ.
Murdered 2 innocent Israeli embassy staffers outside of the D.C. Jewish Museum here in Washington. These are just a tree.
It's the right-wingers who are committing the violence, though.
Promised he will directly address the dark sources funding and supporting this domestic very soon. Everyone, Republican, Democrat, everyone in between.
Oh, now we agree with the Democrats.
Okay. Where we do not have to fear for our lives simply for stating what we believe in. White House correspondent for Turning Point USA's news organization on the front lines. Monica, thank you for being here. We're so sorry for the loss of everyone in this room. So why don't you kick us off today?
Thank you so much, Caroline. I don't think you realize how much it means to me to be here in this seat, especially.
I thought we were taking questions.
Front lines. We greatly appreciate
milking this political assassination.
Memorial service that means more to us.
Quote, they're really milking this.
And even the global support that we're seeing for Charlie has been overwhelming, and it doesn't. Government and local officials said that Antifa inscriptions were engraved in these bullet casings that killed Charlie Kirk. It appears
talking about the one that says from Helldivers 2.
In this kind of violence, saying there is a domestic terrorist.
Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao. Also is an anti-fascist song.
Antifa as a domestic terrorist to ensure that violence like this just is eradicated moving forward.
Sure. Well, Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends
that it's decentralized. It doesn't nations, right? It's just groups of, and if being anti-fascist is promoting terrorist organizations for simply say hi, I'm Antifa, I'm anti-fascist. You can quote me on that. If me being anti-fascist is me being a terrorist, then you're a fascist. Because if you're anti-me,
from Antifa, I will just read a few.
You're pro-fascist.
In July 2025, several members of an Antifa cell ambushed and opened fire on officers at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, shooting one officer in the neck. Also, in July 2025, 3 Antifa
they
members
were
were
Antifa.
charged with assaulting a police officer during
Also
a
not
violent
Antifa.
riot outside an ICE facility in Portland, which for weeks prior had been under siege from the local Antifa terror cell. In February 2024, a transgender 23 Antifa members linked
Are
to
there
abortionist
extremists?
group
Yes,
Jane's
there are
Revenge
extremists. To say that
firebombed
these
pro-life facilities and vandalized churches.
extremists
In
are
January
100% like
2022, a
part of an
suspected
Antifa
Antifa
cell
member
is
an Antifa supporter threatened to shoot police officers and Trump supporters outside of the Florida State Capitol building. Again, I could continue to list many more examples.
because half the ones that more than half the ones that she would have named are all right wingers and not Antifa. There's anti-Trump.
These other violent left
Nobody's funding them.
Seen perpetuate so much crime and mayhem across our country.
Thank you. And Charlie Kirk died exercising his First Amendment right. All Americans who feel like they are too afraid to express their beliefs, their values, their morals in the wake of such horrific violence.
I think the president has answered this, and I will leave it to his response, Monica, where he so beautifully said, we have to keep fighting. We have to keep speaking up. We have to keep speaking our mind. I know that's what Charlie would want us to do, and we have a right
are they
to free
going to
speech in
keep
this country.
being
The president
racist,
supports it. It is
misogynistic,
protected by our
transphobic?
beautiful Constitution, and Americans should not cower.
You don't
in
care about
fear.
the
They should rise
Constitution,
up
though.
with
You don't care
courage
about
to
free
continue
speech.
speaking the truth.
And to end on a lighter note, Caroline,
And he was, of course, a very influential person in the conservative movement, in the MAGA movement. He was so helpful to the president during the campaign and to all of us who worked on that campaign, that historic campaign. He was always willing to text people with words of encouragement. In fact, my last text exchange with him was the day before he died. And he was asking for my husband and I's address to send a children's book to our son. And I think that just speaks to the type of person that he was. And I know so many of us here at the White House.
Indoctrinate them while they're young.
Thank you. Gabe.
That's the kind of person.
Thank you.
Indoctrinate them while they're young, stop them from getting a higher education.
Why now? Does the administration have...
Because he advocated for people not going to college.
...previously showing a possible link between acetaminophen and autism?
I know there's been many reports about what this announcement at 4 o'clock will be, Gabe. The president is very excited about this, so I don't want to scoop the president of the United States. Robert F. Kennedy and the incredible health team that this president has put together are really viewing things in a much different lens. And they are paying attention. Americans are going to be enlightened and proud of what they hear later this afternoon, but I won't get ahead of the president on exactly what that announcement entails.
On a different topic, going back to the president's social media administration that they hadn't taken action quickly enough. I want to point to something that the president said during his inaugural address. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute.
No. In fact, the president is fulfilling his promise to restore a Department of Justice that demands accountability. And it is not weaponizing the department. He knows what that looks like more than President Trump. We are not going
He's
to
just
tolerate
weaponizing the Department of
gaslighting
Justice
from
against
anyone
his
in the
political
media or from
opponents.
anyone on the other side who is trying to say Biden used this sacred American institution to go after his political opponent in the middle of an election year.
Projection.
And you look at people like Adam Schiff and like James Comey
Deflection.
and like Letitia James, who the president is rightfully frustrated. He wants accountability for these corrupt fraudsters.
And so he's
who
demanding
abuse their power, who
that
abuse
everybody
their
that he
oath of
doesn't
office
like, who
to
hasn't
target
directly
the
targeted
former
him, but
president and then candidates for the highest office in
he's
the
just
land. And I
flashing
think
out
the
everybody
president
who
has
could
reaffirmed
possibly
in
get
those
him in trouble.
frustrations and
Who
his
could
hope
probably
for
take
accountability
away his power.
by the millions and millions of people who reelected him to this office with a mandate to demand accountability. And the president has not been shy about
Everything. This is the party
In
of
fact,
guilty,
he
guilty,
traveled
guilty,
to the
but when
Department of
it's for
Justice
me,
earlier this
innocent
year.
until
All
proven
of you were there
guilty,
to
and then
cover it.
innocent
He
even when
said,
guilty.
quote, I demand a full and complete accountability for wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The
If only you
American
had
people
that
gave a
same
mandate
standard
to
for the people in
investigate
your
the
own
root of
party
corruption out of our
or your
system,
own political
and that's what the
leaning.
president wants to see.
Research that suggests there's no clear link between autism and acetaminophen usage. You're suggesting today
About
they
halfway
may
there
have
this
new
video now.
information on this. A lot of it, and this entire debate has the potential to confuse women, especially pregnant women, about what to do. What do you say to those that say what you're doing today potentially just introduces more confusion into the debate.
I think women for many years, in fact for decades, Ed, have been confused by the rapid increase in autism in this country, in the childhood epidemic.
I'm sorry, the fact that it's
chronic
been
epidemic,
looked
disease
into
epidemic
more,
that is
researched
plaguing
more,
America's
diagnosed
youth. Women
more,
are confused
because
about
people
that, and they
actually
want
go
answers
bother to
that.
going to the
And that's
doctor and to the
exactly what this
therapist is
administration
why,
focused on
and saying
finding.
that that's
And
the
before you
reason
jump
why
to
it's causing so much
conclusions based
alarm.
on clock announcement with some critical thinking skills and with some open
Oh,
ears to
please have
actually
critical
listen
thinking
to what the
skills. Please
president
have
and his
critical
team
thinking
of
skills, because
outsiders have to say
almost every
about
other
this.
word
And
out of
there
these
will
people's
be
mouths
a number of
is
things that will
an
be across the country who really want answers to what's
mind-boggling
happening to our nation's children.
speculations
So
coming out
again,
of
I won't get ahead of the
far
president, but I
right
think
field.
everyone in this room needs to tone down the judgment before you even hear what people are going to say. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. So too on the Holman investigation, I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice
I'm so sorry
Department
to chat.
to close
Excuse
the
me.
case, and does Holman
No.
have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring
Oh,
to.
we're gonna
so
cover
you should get
this
your facts
later.
straight, number one. Number two, this was another example.
This lady
of
doesn't
the
know how to do
weaponization
anything
of
but
the
lie.
Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Homan did, as
I'm done.
FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or
Except for
criminal
the
wrongdoing,
video and audio
in the White
recording
House, and the
of
president
Tom
stand by
Homan
Tom
taking the
Homan
bribe. But okay.
100%, because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down the border. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions on far-left violence.
Sure.
The first one, the president said yesterday that the bullet hit Charlie, but it was aimed at every one of us. Do you and your colleagues have a heightened sense of fear following this shooting and this far-left violence we're seeing across the country?
It
I
was a
certainly
right
think
winger
there's
that
a
shot the
sense of
fucking
awareness
gun, you
by,
fucking dunce.
conservatives across the country, by all of us here at the White House. Again, as I said to Monica, many of
That
us
was a
were
planned
personal
question.
friends with Charlie.
That wasn't
and
a
had
genuine question. That was a
involvement
planned
with
question.
Turning Point before we came and served our
That
government
person
in this
was
way.
given that
So
question to ask
certainly it's
by-
a very violence just for speaking our minds and for supporting President Trump.
And as a follow-up on that, I asked the president last night on Air Force One about this pattern of transgender violence we're seeing. Charlie's killer lived with his boyfriend who identifies as transgender, and then we had the Annunciation shooting, the Covenant shooting, on how the administration is viewing this uptake in specifically transgender violence.
It's definitely something worth looking into, and I think anyone who denies that at this point is being willfully ignorant to such evil and such hatred.
And not trans.
There's probably many answers to that question, but the administration is really focused on all of them. The terrorism that we're seeing, the White House and the president's policy team will be leading the charge, and that really begins with designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization.
I just wanted to follow up quickly on
Speaks
the
out
man who
against the
shot
government
and
is
killed her
Antifa
husband.
is
How
be
does that
censored
square
and
with
arrested
down
for
the
Antifa
temperature
simply because they
violence
called the
in this
government
country? And
fascist.
then, if I could, I had a follow up on Venezuela too.
Look, the president is authentically himself. I think that's why millions of Americans across the country love him and support him, including Erica Kirk, who you saw so beautifully was on stage with the president in that time, and he was there to give it to her as well as the vice president.
On TikTok, how much the deal is? When can we expect to learn how much the deal
Oh,
is?
they're talking about
Separately,
China divesting
who
from
is,
ByteDance,
who
going down
investors
to
involved
20% ownership
in the deal? Like, can you share
in
more details?
in
So I
ByteDance.
don't have a specific number for you, nor am I going to confirm the specific individuals and entities in the deal, Akela, but I do have several details I'm happy to run through for all of you, and the president will be signing the deal by a board of directors with extensive national security and cybersecurity credentials. In partnership with the U.S. government, Oracle will serve as TikTok's trusted security provider, and they will Americans' data will be stored securely in the United States without access from China. All U.S. user data will be
It already
stored on
is.
servers operated by Oracle in the United States, protected from surveillance, will be secured, retrained, and operated
In the United States,
globally
specifically
interoperable,
for
meaning TikTok
the people
users
in the
in
United
US
States who
will be
use
able
it.
to
All
see
of the
videos
user
posted
data
by
for
users in
United
other
States
countries
citizens or
and
United
vice
States
versa.
accounts are
While I don't
based
have
in
a
the
number on
United
the specific
States.
deal, businesses using TikTok will generate as much as $178 billion in economic activity within the U.S. over
Which is the only
next
reason why it's
4
not currently
years. So
banned.
this is great news, not just for the to use this very fun app, But it's also great news for
They just
all
want
the small
their hands
business
in the
owners who have
algorithm,
really
which it's
been able to
unclear
make
as
a
to whether
living,
the U.S. will
off of the
get
use of TikTok as
the
well.
algorithm
And if I could
code
just get
to.
one official trade deal with China, farmers are getting a little bit antsy navigating, prices being weak and not strong. How, sort of bailing farmers out should prices continue to not work in their favor.
Well, the administration is completely understands the anxiety of farmers. We're very parts. As for any specific actions, I don't have any news on that for you today, but I can fully assure you the entire National Economic Council in this building, as well as our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, have been talking specific for you today. Sure, Selena.
Thanks, Caroline. But the case against Letitia James was extensively investigated for 5 months, and President Trump's handpicked Attorney General Eric Siebert could not find any evidence that he committed a crime. So is the president saying here it doesn't matter if there's a crime, he just wants his political enemies to be charged?
Well, let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was
Does not explain why.
Letitia
And yet,
James's
after a 5-month
campaign slogan.
investigation
It
was found, nothing.
prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to
Was
prosecute
it?
Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. That's abusing their power. She actively campaigned
That sounds
on
like
She
what
also
Trump
led
has
the
been
witch
saying. I
hunt,
don't know if
financial
Letitia
fraud
said that,
investigation
but I know that's
against
what
President
sounds like
Trump and the
Trump's
Trump
people have been
organization, and an
saying.
appeals court
Hold on.
tossed that
Here's a
concern
double standard.
$500
They've been
million
talking for
of
any
this
kind of
witch hunt to
evidence
show
and
that this is
whatnot.
an individual
And
who is
yet,
corrupt
they're
and
just
abused
going
her oath
to
of
say
office.
all
We
this shit
also
about
have
Letitia
evidence
and
of
then
her
not to
financial
expect
and
from
property
a
disclosures that raise
corrupt
serious
fascist government.
legal questions.
But why won't the president accept the conclusions of Siebert, who again was picked by President Trump?
I just answered that question for you, and the president has every right to express how he feels about these people who literally campaign those who abuse their office and abuse their power. And Letitia James absolutely did that.
And
whether
yet,
they
after a
want to admit it or
5-month
not.
investigation, nothing was found.
Jeff, it's accountability.
Thanks,
Jeff.
Caroline. 2 foreign policy questions: treaty limiting nuclear weapons. Does the White House have a reaction to that? Does the president want to accept that offer? And then one separate issue, just generally, what is the president's response or reaction to the number of...
Jeff, to your first question about Russia, the president is aware of this offer extended by President Putin, and I'll let him comment on it later. I think it sounds pretty good, but he wants to recognizing a Palestinian state. The president has been very clear. He disagrees with this decision. He spoke about that in the UK, standing right next to his friend. Gaza does nothing to end this conflict and bring this war to a close, and frankly, he believes it's a
Hold on
reward
one
to
second.
Hamas. So he
Charlie
believes
Kirk's what?
these decisions are just more talk and not enough action.
I mean, I've seen one video talking about how. Okay, so real quick for a chat who can't hear, my partners asked me if I'd looked into the background of Charlie Kirk's widow yet. Miss USA pageant winner from when Trump was owned the Miss USA, in which in the surrounding area where the charity that she was working out of. That area had an abundance of children. If that's all I can remember off the top of my head, I do have to look more into that if that's something that I need to look into. The fact that they have the same first name as my sister is disturbing. That's probably the only reason why I don't remember her first name. Sorry. Yep. Okay, back to this, and then we'll look that up. We'll address that in another video, another live. All right. Well, while that's queuing up, waiting to be played again, let's go over the next about taking a $50K bribe from members of the FBI. So this is an article from Reuters. President Trump's board czar Tom Homan accepted a $50,000 bag of cash from undercover FBI agents last year in a since closed U.S. Justice Department bribery investigation. 2 sources familiar with the material said on Sunday in the alleged scheme, Homan promised immigration-related government contracts when he joined the Trump administration in exchange for the money. The sources said, speaking anonymously to discuss non-public investigations. FBI Director Kash Patel ordered the investigation closed over the summer, one of the sources says Homans could not be reached for comment. This matter originated under the previous administration and was subjected to a full review by FBI agents and Justice Department prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoing, according to Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. That will not baseless investigations. As a result, the investigation has been closed because these people want. First of all, they don't care about the corruption. They want yes men. They don't care if they're corrupt or not. Secondly, to top that off, they want ICE to continue doing people out of the country. So if their borders got a $50,000 cash bribe, deport people en masse. I mean, that's only in line with what they want. Of course, they're not going to cover. The probe into Homan started around August 2024, near the end of President Joe Biden's administration, and stemmed from a separate national security investigation. One of the tribes in exchange for future government contracts, the two sources told Reuters. An undercover sting operation was set up, and Homan was caught on a recording accepting $50,000, sources said. Homan oversees the Trump administration's campaign of mass deportation of people in the country illegally, while White House said he has not been involved in awarding any contracts. Abigail Jackson, whose White House deputy press secretary, said in a statement. Grand jury probe into the Homan in the Western District of Texas, and Deputy Attorney General and is now a federal judge, was briefed on the case in February. One of the sources said, in that exchange, he expressed displeasure with the probe and said it was an example of deep. A statement from Patel and Blanche said that probe was a blatantly political investigation, and yet another example of how the Biden Department of Justice is using the resources to target President Trump's allies. Homan was an official at U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement under President Barack Obama. Homan ran a consulting business to help companies obtain immigration-related government contracts. So, that's all that on Homan, and is taking of a $50,000 bribe to unfuck itself. I don't understand how ads are still playing and all that. I guess it's appropriate that we move, which I suppose for the people who don't know is very, that'd be fantastic. I don't know why it's not. That stopped working at the moment. The last couple segments that we got today are all videos that it's done being stupid to progress. Yeah, see, everything is still in a loading process. I know I'm live. I know y'all. You know, it's 10:50. We've been going for about an hour. We'll take a